Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of Lawyered Up. I am your host, Jared Moore, and on today's program, I'm going to have an update for you on the Whitecloud felony charges, the Freedmen case, and also a special report that we're going to be doing on Thursday at 5 p.m. on Lawyered Up. So to start off with, you guys may have remembered I think it was the start of July, Whitecloud, Representative Robin Whitecloud had a court date on her felony charges. That court date had to be rescheduled because her lawyer couldn't make that court date, so they moved it back to the start of this month, August, I believe, on the 3rd. So I was in court on the 3rd. Now, this court date was kind of important because we were going to find out that at the previous court date, the AG's office had said that they were going to extend an offer for a plea deal to Whitecloud's lawyer, Mr. Kennedy, and they were going to get the answer on that. So on Monday the 3rd, Mr. Kennedy said they didn't have any plans to take that deal, and they requested to move on to the trial. So the next stage of the process is going to be on August 31st. They're going to have a sounding hearing, which is basically like trying to schedule the next step, which could be the pretrial or discovery. And we're going to move on to a trial unless between now and then, or even after that, at any point, Representative Whitecloud changes her mind and she decides she wants to take a plea deal or whatever they're offering her. So as of right now, we are going to trial, and this could be, if you guys look at our coverage of the Travis Scott case, this could be a long process going through the court. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make the August 31st sounding hearing, but I'm basically keeping my eyes open for a trial or anything in the future on her court filings. And as soon as something happens that we can get to that will have some new information in the case for you guys, we will do that and have that to you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that Grayson and Kennedy have filed at the federal level. That's what's in the information box over here. The links to these stories that I mentioned are in the description of this video if you guys want to go check them out. Basically, let me pop that up for you guys. You can read the filing here. It's hyperlinked in our story. I did want to go over what their complaint is asking. This is in the Western District of Oklahoma, the federal court. And what they're asking for in their complaint, hold on just a minute, let me jump down here, is they want the court to permanently enjoin Chief Hill and his successors from denying plaintiff citizenship, executing, enforcing, implementing, or permitting any law or policy denying plaintiff citizenship rights, withholding his signature from plaintiff citizenship cards, denying plaintiffs from having and enjoying all the rights and privileges of Mvskoke Creek Nation citizens, or denying plaintiffs equal protection of the laws of the Mvskoke Creek Nation, or otherwise violating the Treaty of 1866. And then basically the same type of permanent injunction for the members of the Citizenship Board. They're asking the federal court to recognize and enforce the Mvskoke Creek Nation Supreme Court's final order of July 23rd, 2025. And you guys know what that is because we've covered that. And then let me see if there's anything else in here. Declare that plaintiffs are entitled to receive citizenship cards and provide plaintiffs such other and further relief as the court may deem just and proper. So basically the same, they're going to the federal level now, so that's where we're at with that case. Me personally, we'll see, there have been some amicus briefs filed. For instance, you guys that follow Lawyered Up or our program will remember that in the past we've interviewed Mr. Ron Graham, who is also a Freedman, and Ron, he filed an amicus brief in the case that showed up today, where he is basically pointing out that I think his amicus is that he is trying to get IHS Health Services, and they won't see him until after he has his citizenship card. So that also got filed in the court. We don't have a court date or anything or a response yet from Chief Hill or anything in those court documents. But as soon as we have one, I will bring it to you guys. So that's the update on that. And finally, for the meat and potatoes, what I wanted to talk about tonight is last week on, or actually I think it was last week, it might have been 2 weeks ago. July 22nd. Mvskoke Media published a story here, Native Americans Targeted in Drug Rehab Frauds. I wanted to talk a little bit about the story. The link to it is in the description of this video. I encourage you guys to go and read the story because we're going to have some victims of this drug rehab fraud, a victim of this drug rehab fraud live with the program on Thursday with their legal representation, and also hopefully Hope Craig Corlew, who's quoted in the story. To give you guys this situation in a nutshell, what's been happening, and this has been going on for years, since at least 2023. There are rehab facilities, and not just in Oklahoma on the reservation, but also in other states like Arizona and so forth. There are rehab companies, in this case that's mentioned here, it's Asana Recovery Incorporated, that have been paying tribal citizens to go onto the res and use social media to recruit other citizens that they know have drug problems and they're telling them, hey, this company will pay for your airfare, and they'll fly out to this rehab. It's great. It's like having a vacation. And so the person signs up for it. They get the plane ticket. They fly out to, in this case, it was California. And then once they get to the facility, they take their clothes and their cell phone, and they have them sign a longer contract than they agreed to, and then they won't let them leave, because what they're doing is the allegations are that they are holding them and not providing adequate treatment and billing the insurance company for these treatments that aren't actually treatments. And they can't let the person leave because then they can't bill the insurance company anymore. And so what ends up happening is if the person escapes or they get out of the facility, they don't have any money and they're just left out in California or wherever. So this story has gotten a lot of traction everywhere, and there's a lot of very interesting comments that have been left on the story, so I encourage you guys to check it out. And like I said, we're going to have a special report on this Thursday at 5 for you guys to tune in. I just want to check the chat here and see if we have any questions. Abalova asks, can the nation continue to not following the Supreme Court final decision? Well, let me just give you guys in a nutshell. I'm assuming, Abba, you're talking about the Freedmen decision. To jump back just real quick, where we're at with that is the Supreme Court's issued its decision, and Chief Hill and the National Council have said, hey, it's going to take us time to comply with this decision. We've got to change code and so on and so forth. And then there were the series of status reports, if you look at the prior coverage, and then we have this filing. Last year, when Demario Solomon Simmons had his press conference, if you watched that press conference that I was at the end, I asked him a question if they're going to file at the federal level, and at that time he couldn't make any comment on it. But we're going the standard progression. I've also been checking the district court to see if there's going to be any other actions filed at the district court, because the original decision that went to the Supreme Court was mostly concerned with whether the 1866 treaty applied to citizenship after the 1979 Constitution, and that issue has been solved. So now anyone who had filed for Freedmen citizenship cards or citizenship cards with the tribe, if they don't get their card, they could also file another action at the district court and go back up through that system again that would be more focused on meeting the timeliness of their citizenship actions. So while Grayson and Kennedy are at the federal level trying to get a federal court to issue some type of ruling to to get the tribe to enforce the tribal Supreme Court's ruling. There's also actions that could be filed at the district court by any number of people, and we'll see what happens there. That will not include the question of whether the 1866 treaty is you can use it to get citizenship, but will be focused just on the administrative procedures of the Citizenship Board and saying they're not doing what they're supposed to do and so on and so forth, because there's a lot of regulations, as we saw with the district court's case in the Grayson Kennedy case, where they are supposed to do things on a certain timetable that they aren't doing or haven't done and so on and so forth. So we'll see. If I've been keeping my eyes open for that. And with that, I think I've covered everything there that I wanted to talk about. Again, you guys, I want to encourage you to check out these drug rehab frauds story. The link is in the description. If you're interested in this, there have been, one of the interesting things that we found is that this story kind of kicks off talking about a Blue Cross and Blue Shield Oklahoma lawsuit against Asana Recovery Inc. It is a civil lawsuit where the judge granted them a $7 million judgment. That's Blue Cross and Blue Shield got a judgment from Asana because Blue Cross and Blue Shield alleged that they were doing fraudulent treatments, and that Asana agreed to pay them $7 million as to get rid of the claim. In the complaint, one of the body brokers that was listed as the example of one of the people that was recruiting tribal citizens to go into this program was listed as KB. And so we were able to locate KB's Facebook page and find out that KB is Kimberly Brave, and she is the head of the, let me get her title correct. Kimberly Brave is the program manager for the Osage Nation Family Violence Prevention Program. So just to clear that up for you, and how we were able to find that is because Kimberly Brave had a Facebook page where she said, in modern times, she's saying, I am the Family Violence Prevention Program Manager. But the allegations in the Blue Cross and Blue Shield case were from 2023, so we just went back to 2023 on her Facebook page, and she was on Facebook working for Asana trying to recruit people. So that's kind of a big deal because it looks like that there's been some human trafficking happening here. We weren't able to find any criminal charges into relation with all this, but the Blue Cross and Blue Shield case is a civil case. It's not a criminal case, just to clear that up for everybody. But that's one of the questions for our guests when we're going to have on Thursday is what has their experience with law enforcement? We have a quote from Hope Craig Corlew with the, let me get the United American Indian Movement, or United American Indian Involvement, Inc., which is a Native American support agency out there in Los Angeles, California, where she says, I want to quote that. Sorry, just give me a second here. Here it is. What we are witnessing in Los Angeles and Orange County is nothing short of a trafficking crisis targeting our people, and Mvskoke Creek Nation citizens are among those being directly victimized. She also says our organization has been forced to repeatedly step in to provide emergency shelter and fund reunification efforts. So you guys tune in on Thursday, and we'll have more coverage on that. And I wanted to thank you for tuning in today, and I'll see you again on Thursday. So Mado Hadum Chihichat, please.